Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Uttaram Yat Samudrasya Himadreschaiva Dakshinam Varsham Tad Bharatam Nama Bharati Yatra Santatihi. Welcome to all for this session on Skanda Purana to chapter 17 of Kaumarika Khanda under the Maheshwara Khanda. In the previous chapter, we saw the armies of the Asuras under the leadership of Taraka and the army of Devas under the leadership of Indra are face to face, facing for the purpose of fighting. Narada, who is telling this story to Arjuna, he continued, then these two armies met together like two tempestuous oceans at the close of the Yuga. That extremely terrible clash of the two armies of Suras and Asuras became excessively tumultuous as though it was the termination of the Yuga. Due to the sound of conchs, the war drums of the roaring Devas and Daithyas, the loud sound of musical instruments, the trumpeting sound of the elephants, the neighing sound of the groups of horses, and the noise of the rims of chariots, with a desire for life eschewed, and with fury enveloping all their limbs, they clung to one another and became excessively red due to their march against each other. Chariots met chariots in great clash, elephants with huge elephants, foot soldiers with the rival soldiers, and horses with other great horses. All sorts of weapons and missiles flew everywhere in the sky. Weapons such as lances, thunderbolts, iron clubs, bindipalas, axes, javelins, patishas, spears, mallets, pointed lancers made of iron, gudas, discuses, shaktis, tomaras, gauds, karnis, darts, iron tipped arrows, vatsadantas, arrows with crescent shaped edges, ballas, vetasaputras, Shuktundas, Shukatundas, and others of wonderful nature. These missiles and weapons covered all the quarters. The sky became completely dark. They were not seen or known by one another in that confusing darkness. They cut, the, they cut and chopped off one another even as they were invisible in that darkness. The whole earth was covered with earrings, elephants, horses, and foot soldiers falling and already fallen. It appeared as though lotuses fell from the lake of the sky and got scattered everywhere. Huge elephants resembling mountains fell down on the ground with blood flowing out. Their tusks were broken. The frontal globes on the foreheads of those elephants were pierced through. Their long trunks were chopped off. Chariots fell shattered with their axle poles and shafts broken down. Scores of foot soldiers and thousands of horses fell down. Thousands of rivers of blood began to flow, giving great delight to flesh eating goblins and vetalas, that is, vampires. In that battle of such a nature, the commander in chief Grasana, the slayer of enemies, scattered the army of Devas with great shower of arrows. Then, turning towards Grasana, Yama, who had become over infuriated, discharged a shower of arrows, especially of the blazing luster of fire. Pierced with many arrows, Grasana, of great exploit, wanted to take revenge on him. He bent his terrible bow and struck him, that is, struck Yama with 500,000 of thousands of arrows. He, Yama, warded off the arrows discharged by Grasana. Yama inflicted injuries on Grasana with terrible showers of arrows. Grasana, the lord of Danavas, and chopped off the oncoming volleys of arrows of Kanta, that is Yama, with a shower of his own arrows. On seeing that his own volley of arrows was in vain, Yama hurled a blazing mallet at the chariot of Grasana. As the mallet approached him, Grasana, the slayer of enemies, jumped down from his excellent chariot and caught it sportingly with his left hand. With the same mallet, he furiously and forcibly struck the buffalo of Yama. It fell down on the ground. Yama jumped down from the falling buffalo. With a barbed dart, he hit Grasana forcefully in his face. With a blow of the barbed dart, he fell down unconscious on the ground. On seeing Grasana fallen down, Jambha of terrible exploit hit the chest of Yama with his javelin. On account of that blow, much blood was vomited through the mouth of Yama. Distressed by the hard blow, Pratanta Yama became unconscious. On seeing that Yama was struck down and distressed, Dhanadhipa, that is Kubera, who wielded a mace in his hand and was surrounded by groups of 10,000 yakshas, furiously rushed against Jamba. Such as one welcomes the affectionate words of the king, so did Jamba, who was surrounded by the Danava army, receive or caught by him, though he had been rushing with fury. Regaining consciousness, Grasana hurled at Yama a heavy iron club adorned and beautified with jewels and gold plates and capable of destroying all barriers and hindrances. On seeing the iron club approaching, the buffalo vehicled Lord Yama furiously discharged a baton as terrific as universal fire fought the attack of the iron club surrounded by clusters of flames. The baton came into clash with the iron club and roared tremendously like a thundering cloud. Their mutual clash was as unbearable as that of the collision of two mountains. The sound of their mutual friction and clash stunned the quarters. The whole universe became agitated and bewildered as though they suspected advent of deluge. Within a moment, the loud report subsided, the blazing flames guttered and accumulated together like a meteor. Thus, the clash in the sky was excessively terrible. After quelling the iron club, the baton fell on the head of Grasana in the same manner as predestined blow of fate befalls one, destroying all manly efforts. On account of that blow, Grasana was so stunned that he saw the quarters enveloped in darkness. He lost consciousness and fell on the ground, smeared with dust particles of the ground. A terrible cry of distress, alas, alas, arose in both the army camps. Within a short time, that is a muhurta of 48 minutes, Prasanna regained consciousness and found his body shattered and the garments and ornaments in great disarray. He then thought about the means of taking revenge. I, upon the manliness of mine, am I the commander in chief of the Lord? How can I be so? The armies were dependent upon me. If I was conquered, they were also conquered. Only a good man who has no high esteem about himself can rejoice happily. If one who is esteemed is weak, one has neither a friend nor an enemy. Thinking thus that Daitya of great strength got up quickly, Grasana of terrible resolve bit his lips in fury. He seized a hammer as brilliant as the baton of Kala and as huge as a mountain. He hurriedly went ahead in his chariot and approached Antaka Yama in the battlefield. After coming to Yama, he wielded the terrible hammer with great force and hurled it at the head of Yama. On seeing the brilliant hammer, Yama's vision became dim and he was bewildered. The extremely powerful Yama dodged the unbearable Mudgara, that's a hammer or mallet. When he slipped aside, the hammer pounded and pressed 10,000 Kinkaras, that is, the servants of Yama, of fierce and terrible activities. On seeing 10,000 Kinkaras, that is, servants killed, the army of the Kinkaras, numbering thousands, millions, angrily rushed to Grasana. On seeing that splendid army full of Kinkaras, Grasana thought that thousands of Yamas were attacking him. Army of such a formidable form and nature got Grasana involved in showers of arrows. That great battle became a very terrible one, like the time of the world annihilation at the end of a kalpa. Some of them crushed and broke enemies with mountains, and some with arrows going straight ahead. Some crushed and pounded with iron clubs, some with showers of mazes and mallets, some haughty kinkaras struck with blows of barbed missiles and darts, other kinkaras hung down from his arms, others hurt and hit with rocks, still others with trees of great height, others hit his limbs with their teeth. Other kinkaras hit and struck his back with their fists. On being assailed by them, Grasana became intensely angry. He took them off from his body. He pounded and thrashed thousands of them on ground. He stood up and killed some kinkaras in the battle with his fists. Some he killed by kicking them, and others he reduced to powder by running over them. Within a moment, an old descendant of Bharata, that is basically Narada, is telling this story to Arjuna. Within a moment, he led them all to the world of Yama. That means he killed all of them. By this battle with the Kinkaras, he became stronger like fire fed with fuel. On seeing him unaffected by fatigue, and on seeing his own men exhausted and killed, the buffalo vehicle Yama came there raising his baton. As he approached, Grasana struck him on his chest with his mace. Antaka, the slayer of foes, did not mind at all that action of Grasana. With his baton, he killed the tigers. He means Grasana fell down on the ground from the chariot. Thereafter, the proud Daitya got up in a trice, thought about himself, and rushed with the speed of the wind towards the chariot of Yama on foot. He got into the chariot and fought with Yama with his hands and dragged him with force. Yama, the most excellent one among powerful persons, threw his weapons away and engaged in a hand to hand fight. The valiant Grasana caught hold of Yama by his loin cloth and whirled him with great speed till his mind became utterly bewildered. Yama freed himself with great difficulty and seized the Asura by the neck with both hands and whirled him. He, the Grasana, then released himself. Then both of them ruthlessly hit each other with their fists. But due to the superior vigor and virility of the leading Daitya, that is Grasana, Yama became more exhausted and tired. He wished for some rest by placing his face over the shoulder of the Daitya. On seeing him tired, the Daitya took him off with force, toppled him on the ground, and thrashed him with his head, heels, and hands. There, there, at much blood flowed from the mouth of Yama. Finding him apparently lifeless, the Danava left him off. After gaining victory, he shouted haughtily and frightened Devas. He went back to his own army and stood there immovable like a mountain. On account of the loud shout of victory of Grasana in the battle, Suras became distressed. Their limbs were wounded by the great weapons and missiles. When Yama fell down on the ground lusterless, Suras became frightened and they trembled. Thus ended chapter 17 of Kaumarika Khanda under the Maheshwara Khanda in Skanda Purana. Namaste Sharada Devi Kashmira Puravasini Twamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danancha Dehime. Goodbye.